Hi, I'm Greg Giuliano, executive coach and author, and I'm here with Phil, and I'm going to tell you the best advice I ever got. Be Shaq.
B Shack. Greg, I read your book, man. I don't see that in there. What's B Shack? Talk to me.
So many years ago, had just started my company, shifting from psychotherapy to executive coaching and consulting. And I was kind of hiding a little bit because I was, timid in stepping into it because it was a brand new field way back then. This was before you were born, Phil, long time ago. And one of my very first coaches, I think all coaches should have a coach, by the way. So one of my very first coaches said, "So Greg, we lived in Southern California. So Greg, Shaq, when does Shaq sit?" And I said, "Well, Shaq sits when Shaq decides to sit." And he said, "Exactly. So in your company and what you're doing now, you're Shaq. So what are you doing sitting? Get off the bench. Be Shaq."
Oh, I love that. That's great advice, right? Get off the bench, get to work. Oh, I get it, man. I thought it was shoot bad free throws or maybe
No.
buy bunches of companies, right? Because now Shaq is the best business guy out there now,
I
right?
know.
So
I know. It's like, stop being timid. Be Shaq. The only person who can make you sit down is you. So why are you sitting?
wow,
Yeah.
that's
It was
great
great
advice.
advice. Boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Changed everything.
Yeah, wow, totally. Well, that's a great way to start, man. That's a great way to start. So, first, congrats on the book, The Next Normal. Great
Thank
book,
you.
airplane read, really easy to read. Lots of checklists and workbooks or worksheets. I mean, which I was like, oh, geez, Greg's going to put me to work here.
Yeah.
So, I admittedly, I did not do all the worksheets, but I promise I read the book and it was really good. I thought
Good.
there's lots of good insight in there. So, I want to start kind of maybe a little bit about Shaq, maybe not, and that is competition. You talk a lot about competing commitments in the book and how
Right.
there's different commitments, right? As a leader, as someone in an organization who's meant to steer and guide. So talk to me about that competing commitments. Why is that such an important thing for our folks, either when we're transitioning, when we're in times of change, or maybe even when
Right.
things are good?
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. Robert Kagan and one of his colleagues came up with it, and it's basically that we will shake our heads, yes, we want to change, and there's still a voice or an image in our head that is equally as forceful, that is telling us don't change. And so we just need to acknowledge that we have this, it's like in the cartoons when we were kids with the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, right? We have those competing commitments. We have a commitment to change, and we have a commitment to don't do anything to change, because if we do, something terrible will happen. And that's going on in our heads. We're all just as crazy as I am.
Wow. So how does that how does that help us or how does that hurt us when we're moving into this challenging time? I mean, it's because change is, whether we like it or not, change is going to happen. Change is
Right.
going to be here, right? So how does that help us or how does that hurt us when we're looking to embrace the next normal?
Yeah. So if we acknowledging, yeah, change it's not a bug in the system. As I say in the book, it's a feature, right? Change just is. So how do we respond to it? And so knowing that we have those competing commitments then helps us to get over the, oh, why is this happening to me, right? That victim mentality, oh, poor me. Leaders don't have the luxury to say, oh, poor me, why is this happening? Leaders have to say, okay, that just happened. Now what do we do? And helping people to get into that frame of mind that yes, things are changing, and some things are out of our control, like a pandemic, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that is in our control. So what do you have control over? And what do you want to do about it? You have agency, and leaders have to understand that for themselves. And leaders have to help other people get into that frame of mind and understanding that they have agency and power. And what do you want to do now?
Okay, so So how do we get there, Greg? I mean, that sounds obvious, right? I mean, I got a lot of stuff. I know I'm a leader. I can control stuff, but how do I actually get my brain right and control the controllables instead of letting all the outside crap hit me in the head?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question because I mean, I have one guy that I coached, and I talk about him in the book, who was addicted to shiny objects. And when things are changing, my God, there's a million shiny objects, and lots of entrepreneurs, same thing. It's like, well, I could do that, I could do that. That's what entrepreneurs do. They come up with great ideas. But how do you stay focused? And so understanding at a high level, and this is why in the book I start with what's the impact that you want to have and getting really clear on that aspiration that you have for yourself, because we need a filter for making decisions that we can take all those shiny objects and run them through a decision-making filter in our head, right, with our internal board of directors and say, so I could chase that shiny object. Does it get me where I say I want to be? Ultimately, does it help me achieve my near-term ambition? Does it help my team be successful in the next 90 days or half a year? So we need some kind of a filter for deciding what are we going to do and what are we not going to do. And that's really grounding, especially when we are a leader of a team. If it's just me, I can do whatever I want. But as soon as I've got even one more person working for me, it's not about me anymore. What do I need to do to help that person show up and be their best? And I need to be grounded and clear on, here's what's most important. Now let's figure out how to get there.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we miss that. To your point, we chase the shiny and we forget about the real impact and the real goal there, because shiny is fun, shiny is new, shiny is change that I can control, right?
Love shiny.
Yeah.
I love shiny stuff. Yeah, but if I signed up when I became a leader of other people, I signed up to help them achieve their goals, our shared goals. And I can't keep changing the goals because I like to chase shiny objects. No, we said that in this quarter or in this year, this is what's most important. And that would be really cool, but it's not now. It's down the road.
Yeah, it's not aligned, right? It's not
right.
It's not aligned to the big vision there. So with that, you talk on page 29 in your book, you talk about empowerment. You say the ship is seaworthy if it's safe and fit to undertake a sea voyage and weather a variety of conditions. And then you step us through the ABCs there. So talk to us about the ABCs of empowerment, because I think they're super important and I think they help us refocus and get our team back marching in the same direction.
Yeah, so ships have to be seaworthy, organizations have to be changeworthy, right? To weather and navigate the seas of constant perpetual change. And I boiled it down to, well, it really is just your ABCs, because there's a lot going on. My job as a leader is to align people. So where are we going? Why are we going there? How are we going to get there? What's your role? What's my role? How are we measuring success? So aligning people around those guiding stars, that when the plan goes, where, that I can remember those guiding stars. If I can't find my boss, I can make a decision that's aligned with our highest intent and with our strategy and with our plan. Even if I can't talk to another human, I can remember those guiding stars that my leader helped shape by remembering that the leader's job is to align people. That's the A. The B is bench strength. Do we have the capacity to weather change? To do what we have to do, to communicate, to collaborate, to engage in order to create new things together, to create value for our customers or our clients. So as a leader, I always need to be thinking about, what's my bench strength? How are we doing today? Do we have the capacity that we need? And how can I help the organization or the team or this person develop themselves in order to be who I need them to be, in order to achieve what we have aligned on? This is what's most important. And then the C is for coordinating action, that we have to keep a lot of plates spinning. And so my job as a leader is to make sure that all of the action is coordinated. So I want to know, what have you decided is your unique contribution, team member? And okay, that's yours. And I do that for all my team members. So I make sure that all the stuff is coordinated so that nothing's falling through the cracks and we're not duplicating work and wasting time and energy. So those are my ABCs: align people, build bench strength, coordinate action.
Wow. Seems very simple. So where do we go wrong there, Greg? I mean, in simplicity, certainly there's beauty, but also I think sometimes because it's so clear, sometimes that actually makes it ambiguous, because like, okay, it can't be that simple. Don't I have to introduce some complexity here to make it more valuable?
Yeah, no, we have enough complexity. So, I aimed the book when I was writing the book. Who was I writing it for? I work with a bunch of senior leaders who have years, sometimes decades of leadership habits in place. And so at some point, development becomes more about subtraction than it does about addition. So how do I make things simpler for them? So to remind them, it's all about these ABCs. Reminds them that on a daily basis, when I'm looking at their calendar with them or thinking about a conversation that they need to have. So what's the point of this conversation? What's the point of this meeting that you're going to have? You're going to bring all these people together. So what do you need to align around? And what skill do you need to develop collectively? And what communication needs to occur to make sure everyone is coordinated? So it becomes a framework for how they design, how they use their time. Oh yeah, this conversation is to make sure we're in alignment. Oh, this conversation is to make sure that we're talking about their development together. This conversation is just to make sure that everything's well coordinated and that they are communicating with who they need to coordinate with. So it becomes a way for them to check of how are they using their time, and everything that they're doing every day falls into one of those three categories, sometimes all three at the same time.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. There's so much there to be that simple. And if it doesn't fit, then having the strength to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I might need to delegate this, right? Maybe that's the D, right? Delegate or just ditch it altogether, right?
Right. Well, that's so one of the tools that I love to use with leaders is called a 90-day tactical action plan. And I ask each leader, this quarter, what is your work? What are the 4 things? It's only a quarter. It's not a lot of time. Only a quarter. What are the 4 things that you have to deliver on behalf of the organization or the team this quarter? And they'll start to make this big old list. And I'll say, so wow, so that is yours. Well, actually, no, that's one of my team members. Okay, well, then that goes on their tactical action plan. So it helps us when they get clear on, this is what I own and this is what I'm going to deliver. And this is what I'm going to say, hold me accountable. This is my stuff. Then it makes it real. Then you use that as, okay, now I'm going to look at your calendar and you have this meeting and that meeting and that meeting and that conversation. It's like, so how does all that stuff in your calendar help you achieve the 4 things you just told me you absolutely need to get done this quarter? Well, this one does, that one doesn't. So then why are you at that meeting? That has nothing to do with you just promised your boss, hold me accountable for these 4 things. And you're spending 50% of your time on stuff that you're not accountable for. It's not yours. Why are you spending your time there? So it helps them, all this stuff for me as we're having this conversation, right? The through line for all of it, the ABCs and is intentionality. How can we help leaders and just people be more intentional about how and where they invest their time, energy, and resources? That's it.
Wow. That's great. So to be more intentional, though, we have to be more aware, right? I think it starts there. And you talk about in the book really clearly about the power of journaling, and about the impact statement. So take us through how senior leaders should be leveraging a journal and why it's so important to them.
Right. And you just said it, right? It's about being more self-aware, right? So, and the only way we become more self-aware is to be more reflective. And so we need to take time to go, okay, why do I do what I do the way I do it? And what's the and I, so I use that exercise in the book, the impact statement, to help leaders get clear on their aspiration. What's the impact that they want to have in the world? I want to be, I am this kind of leader, right? It's like match game, right? I'm a blank leader who helps others blank. And I want them to get clear on that. So, well, let's ask ourselves some questions. So tell me about leaders that you admire. And why do you admire those leaders? What are the characteristics that they have? So how would you describe your favorite leader? How would you describe your favorite leader? Oh, Steve Kerr is an inspirational leader who helps others by teaching and mentoring, and it's right, somebody like that. Great. What's yours? What's your impact statement? Awesome. So is it true today, or is it still 100% aspirational? Let's go find out. Let's ask some people, how they see you, so that so we can become more intentional about, wow, that's how I want to show up. That's the story that I want people telling about me. I need to change some behaviors, because the behaviors that I'm engaging in now don't lead people to use those words to describe me. So I need to change how I show up. So you're right. It starts with awareness. And that awareness comes from doing some journaling and some reflection. So yeah, the people I work with know that, I got lots of questions. Here, write this down. Write it down. Just a couple of minutes. Let's, oh, Greg, I can't believe you want me to write that down. No, just write it down. Humor me. Just write it down. You can throw it away when you're done, but let's write it down so that we both see it on paper and you go, oh, so is that real, or did you just make that up? So it's a great process, and it gives us something to talk about, right? Because development, learning, first is reflection. So I need them to reflect on something. So I give them something to journal. Write this down. Let's reflect on some statements together. And then, okay, now let's talk about it. And now what's the shift you want to make? Go practice that. And then you come back, and guess what? We're going to reflect on it and talk about it again, right? That's how we get better.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just laughing because it seems like such a simple process, and yet it's often so hard to do in practice, right? So
we get locked into it. We have our autopilot, and we fall asleep, right? We become unconscious, and we just kind of go through our day. That's why everybody, I have a coach. Everybody, and my coach reminds me, hey, Greg, you're kind of sleepwalking through this. You're right. Thank you. Okay, let's get intentional. Right? We all need someone who is going to remind us hey, wake up. This is what you said you wanted to do. How are you doing with it? This is how you said you wanted to show up. How are you doing with that? Were you true to what you said you wanted today? We all need that. We all need someone in our life who's going to say, hey, you have spinach in your teeth.
Yeah, and so often it has to be someone outside of our direct circle, because there's a lot at risk, right? I mean, if it's your spouse, or if it's, your direct report, they're gonna be like, well, I don't know, he must like it there, or I wouldn't, or it wouldn't be there, right? I mean, if it's the great leader. So I guess I've got more to ask about the book, but let's talk a little bit about the coaching there. How do we know that if someone is the right coach for us, Greg? I mean, how do we do that selection? Is it, because we read their book, or because we get a handle on who they are? Is it because of recommendation? Is it personality? I mean, how does one do that to find someone like you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes down to chemistry and what you're trying to achieve with coaching, right? So one of the reasons why I love coaching, a friend who said I was going to retire, and I said, I'm never retiring. And, 90 years old, prop me up in bed. If somebody wants coaching, I'll coach them. I love it. But it's knowing, what do you want to achieve, right? Coaching is not remedial. It's not fixing something. Coaching is, you're doing pretty good, and a coach could help you accelerate into your success even more. So what do you want to get out of coaching? And then what are the questions that you should be asking of a potential coach? How do you work? What do you try to do when you're a coach? What can I expect? What could I not expect? So it just comes down to an interview and a process, and what are you looking for? And then, do I think that this person could help me achieve what I want to achieve?
Cool. That's helpful, right? Because I think some people, as they listen to this, like, oh, okay, I think I might need a coach, but how do I pick that? So that's super helpful, and I appreciate you sharing that. So with that,
Yeah.
you talk about what do I want to achieve here. You talk about, though, as we get faster and higher up, they're in developing our leadership. The goal is to develop two things. You say team leadership and our human skills. So
Right.
talk to me about that, because that's so interesting. And often I think leaders sometimes think they have to be an expert in insert job here, when you talk about how it's team leadership and human skills.
Right. And that's the thing that holds a lot of people back. They get to a certain level and they hit that wall as a leader. So they get noticed and they get promoted because they're awesome at marketing, or they're awesome at sales, or they're fantastic, accountant, finance person. And then all of a sudden they have this team of people. And what do I do? And I think in the book, I tell the story of, I was working with a bunch of CFOs at an organization, and I designed a leadership development program for a lot of their early career high potentials. And so one of the younger people in the group asked one of the CFOs, all these CFOs had agreed to mentor all these 20 somethings in the company. It was fascinating experience. And one of the younger people asked one of the CFOs, so what do I need to learn about finance now in order to really accelerate up in my career? And the CFO said, without skipping a beat, you don't need to learn one more thing about finance. I spend maybe 10% of my time looking at spreadsheets. 90% of my time is taking care of people. So if you want to accelerate your career path, work on people skills, work on human skills, work on taking care of a team, because that's what you're going to spend most of your time doing the higher you climb in the organization. Because when you get to that point, all of your success is dependent upon your ability to get other people to engage and contribute on your behalf. And so your subject matter expertise, or whether you run marketing or finance, that's really nice. I love that you still know everything there is to know about marketing, but you've got these 15 people or so sitting here, and your job is to help them shape their work and be their best. That's all.
That's amazing, and so important, and so often overlooked. So I'm glad that you wrote that. It's super in there. I dig that. I got just a couple more questions here, Greg, before we wrap up. One of the things that you also say in the book on page 93, you talk about coaching the person
Right.
instead of the problem. And I have to say, out of all the things that you've said in the book, and I really enjoyed the book, that one resonated with me the most. That one, just to me, it just intrinsically makes sense. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Well, don't you love solving problems?
Sure,
And
yeah, with my wife all the time. That's
I
why she
know.
yells at me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that works out well for you.
No.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we are addicted to solving problems. And so when people come in, one of my directs comes in, I might think mistakenly that my job is to solve their problem for them. And that's not coaching. Coaching is recognizing they could solve that problem. Now I'm going to help them think it through, and I'm going to coach them and not coach to solve the problem, because it's not my job to solve the problem, because it's their problem. It's not my problem. So I am not there as a coach to be Lieutenant Columbo. If you're old enough to remember Lieutenant Columbo, one more thing, if I get enough clues, I can solve your problem for me. And aren't I awesome? That is not my job as the leader. My job as a leader or a coach is to get it out of your head. You know this. So what are you trying to achieve? Okay, well, what have you tried? Or what do you think is in the way? So what do you think your options are? right? Oh, okay. So which one do you think is best? Okay. Well, what do you want to do? When are you going to do it? It's not rocket science. It's overcoming our addiction to being the awesome problem solver and the guy, or the gal. It's not, if I'm a leader and I'm a coach, it is not my job to solve your problem. It's to coach you to solve your problem.
Yeah. One of my friends, Raj Steady, said to me once when I was struggling with stuff, he said, Phil, coach yourself. And, and that stuck with me. That was probably 10 or 15 years ago. I was stuck and Raj said, coach yourself. And then I read, you said it. I'm like, that's exactly it. Like, that's the key, right? If we can get the heck out of our own way,
Yeah.
right? And we can really embrace the fact that I've got the solution. If I'm an executive leader, right? You've got the solution.
Yeah.
Like, just slow down, right? Back up. Instead of being right here, like, back up and let's look at that and see, like, what are the options? What have you done? What's yet to be done, right? What do I really want to accomplish? And I think that also comes back to your ABCs, which is super important, right? Aligning the people. Okay, well, if you're the right person, you can solve this problem, right? Build bench strength. Who else you got on your team? Who else could help you with this? And then coordinate action. Well, let's go, right? Let's go. Do I got it?
You got it.
Awesome. Cool.
You got
All right, good. Cool. All right. Well, so last question here before we wrap up here, Greg. You talk about the tactical action plan, which we went really strategic there, but let's go a little bit more tactical here, because I think, a lot of people, they want to get started, right? They want to get doing this. So talk about your TAP and how that's effective and why that's important. It's in the book, and wow, good stuff. So talk about that.
Yeah, and if any, I'll send you a copy, the template. It's a fillable PDF. Anybody who's connected to you, give it to them. Anybody wants to email me, greg@greggiuliano.com. I'll send them a copy of the TAP. But it's a wonderful personal alignment tool. I want to know, what are the 4 things that you have to get done in the next 90 days that are yours. If you don't do it, there's no one else in the company owns it and is going to get it done. So that then you can figure out for yourself, okay, well then here are the things I need to do to achieve those 4 things. And I also want to know on your TAP, so what do you need to get better at in order to deliver those 4 things? So that you put those development goals on your TAP too, so that when you look at that and I have the folks that I coach every Monday, pull up your TAP, look at it, look at your calendar for the week. What helps you with your TAP? What is a waste of your time, right? Delegate it, delete it, right? Have that yard sale once a week, give stuff away or get rid of it. And then look at your TAP. And then what are you going to practice in terms of development this week, so that every quarter you're seeing that you are focusing on the stuff that is most important. It's only yours, right? It's your work. If you don't do it, ain't nobody else going to do it. And it's just an incredible empowerment tool. It helps people shape their work, helps people really get focused. And it's not trying to boil the ocean the whole year, 5 years. It's just this quarter. What do you got to do?
Yeah. So simple, yet so powerful, which is what I love. And I would say, Greg, that's what I love about your whole book, man. It's super good, right? The Next Normal. Like I said, it's an airplane read. I was on a plane last week to go visit family, and I was like, ooh, like this is good, man. This is good. So if you're going to give folks one last piece of advice to help them get started on the path towards embracing the next normal and transforming their leadership and their team and their organization, what would it be?
I think it would be being as intentional as you possibly can be. I remember a story when I was younger. I was in grad school, and somebody told this story about, imagine a group of morons, happy morons, who are engaged in their work, and they're carrying bricks from one side of a field to another side of the field. And then they stack them up, and then they would do that back and forth. And then one day, one of the morons in the middle of the field all of a sudden stopped and said, why am I doing this? And from that moment on, it was a point of no return. Wasn't as satisfied just carrying the bricks back and forth. And so the starting point for us, and many of you have all probably already asked this, is why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? And if you've asked that, then it's becoming clear on, well, what impact do you want to have? What do you want people saying about you as a leader at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, at the end of your time at this company, at the end of your career? What's the story going to be about you? And the more intentional you become about that, it helps you to shape how you show up and how you take care of your teams and how you lead in your organization. So that would be my last piece of advice. Get really intentional on the impact that you want to have.
I love that. That's a great way to take us out. You say in the book that attention follows intention. So getting intentional certainly will help. Folks, I want to encourage you to get to know Greg more. Check out the book, The Next Normal. Go to greggiuliano.com. Check it out, folks. I'm telling you right now, it's transformational. It's easy to read, and it'll take you the rest of your life to implement if you want to do it right, because you need to be more intentional. So, Greg, thank you so much for sharing the book with me, for sharing some time with me, and all of your insight. I so appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you